Almost since the discovery of the neural nature of the brain by Santiago y Cajal and others, people have thought of mimicking it with machines. In fact, a hydraulic version was even proposed as early as 1913. However, the origin of ANS as used today dates to a paper published in 1943 by Warren McCulloch and Walter Pitts. This famous paper was entitled A Logical Calculus of the Ideas Immanent in Nervous Activity. In this paper, McCulloch and Pitts proposed a simple model of a neuron, which is the basis for most ANS used today. It should be noted, however, that they didn't intend this as a basis for future intelligent machines, but rather just as a theoretical model of biological neural networks. In the 1950s, various researchers created hardware implementations of McCulloch and Pitts neurons and tried to combine these with ideas about learning pioneered by Hebb, which were described in our previous videos. The best known of these was developed by Frank Rosenblatt for pattern recognition. He called this the perceptron, and in fact the word perceptron is still used today to describe simple neurons and neural networks using McCulloch and Pitts type neurons. During the 1950s and 1960s, a number of researchers looked into the possibilities of artificial neurons, but in 1969, Marvin Minsky and Seymour Papert published a book called Perceptrons, in which they pointed out some fundamental limitations to artificial neural network operation. After 1969, a number of dedicated researchers continued to work on neural networks, but Minsky and Papert's book had killed off much of the interest in the subject. Interest in artificial neural networks picked up again in the 1980s, with the popularization of an important neural net learning algorithm called backpropagation. This had been discovered independently by several researchers in the 1970s. The main publication which explained backpropagation was a book called Parallel Distributed Processing by David Rumelhart and James McClelland. Other important developments at the time were the release of the first IBM PCs, which made microcomputing more widely available, and the publication of an important paper on recurrent neural networks by John Hopfield. Together, these developments overcame many of the objections which Minsky and Papert had raised in perceptrons. Since its revival in the 1980s until the present day, neural nets have made steady progress, with several important developments giving them impetus at various different times. Because of their long history, and also because of the interest of diverse researchers, for example in computer science, in psychology, electronics, neuroscience, and even philosophy, artificial neural networks have several other names which you may find confusing at first, but they refer to similar concepts, just from different fields and from slightly different perspectives. These names include artificial neural networks, or ANS for short, perceptrons, and multi-layer perceptrons, which are also called MLPs, parallel distributed processing, which is also called PDP, or computational neuroscience. Another name you might also come across is connectionism. All these refer to neural networks in one form or another, and there are many others which we will meet as we go through the course.